President Bola Tinubu-led administration has sought the approval of the Nigerian Senate for $8.6 billion and 100 million euro borrowing plan. The president made the request through a letter to the Senate, read during the plenary by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio on Tuesday, noting that the fund was to execute critical projects in different sectors. According to the letter, the request was said to be part of the federal government 2022-2024 external borrowing plan approved by former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Tinubu explained that the projects to be funded with the loan cuts across different sectors of the economy and were selected based on economic evaluation and the expected contribution to the country's development. Meanwhile, the president also noted that Nigeria is already suffering from a terrible debt overhang that gets worse with every manifestation of devaluation as the loans are quantified in dollars. He added that the $10 billion being loaned to reflate the naira comes with interest and a repayment plan that further weakens the naira in the nearest future. We still have in the studio barrister Eze Elichie, who is, of course, a barrister and a public affairs analyst. Now, I want to ask you this question. This cycle of borrowings and by the presidency and how much we have incurred as a debt in Nigeria, how does this make you feel?
It makes me understand that these characters who are ruling Nigeria know that Nigeria is not sustainable. So they want to grab as much as they can and stash it away somewhere and watch it collapse. I mean, and this is just the stark realities. Because if you want to go and borrow money as an individual, and that's no different from the government, you will be prudent. You can't come and say you want to borrow money and you have gold wristwatches, gold bangles, you come in a limo, you stay in a $3,000, $15,000 a night hotel room, and you're coming to discuss a loan when you've not begun to cut costs. You begin to wonder, these guys who are borrowing this, I mean, they are borrowing with kind of vengeance. You want to borrow and mortgage the future. You want to borrow and mortgage the natural resources so that the generation to come will have nothing to do with, nothing to rely on. So it gives me the impression that these characters ruling Nigeria are trying to grab as much as they can and make a run for it, and then leave the rest of us with an empty shell. Look at the kind of, all he's been doing ever since he came is borrow, borrow, borrow. The first loan this government got, and they keep on saying it was applied for by the Buhari regime. And then you didn't deem it fit to change. You borrow $800 million to distribute cash distribution. Where have you ever seen such nonsense going on? And this, I mean, look, what happens is when anybody who gets that kind of money, first of all, you go to have a small party, and it's loan that every other person has to pay. We have a country where you have multi-dimensional poverty, and you have chosen maybe 3 million people or some million to give some monies. And how you got these figures, only you and your inner caucus know. Have you seen anybody who got that money from in your village? You've not. And then you are now borrowing more. If you remember, on the 24th of May, 5 days to the end of his government, Muhammadu Buhari applied for billions of dollars, millions of euro in so-called to pay judgment debts. And those monies get approved. And that's why I keep on wondering. These guys who are borrowing and stealing in this way, do they realize that there will be Nigerians in the next 50 years? Or do they understand that Nigeria will still be there in the next 10 years? Because if they did, they'll have some compassion. They'll steal with less glee. Because like the people on the street, who feature them, these monies get shared. You borrow, when you are borrowing this money, what we'll expect them to do actually is tell us what you're borrowing is. Have a list of what these loans will be used for.
Well, they do have a list.
No, you know how it works. Back to the funds that Buhari asked for 5 days to his he was asked, what is it? He said, I will communicate with the Senate. That means those lists never get to public purview. And likewise, this one only stares statements like it will reflect all the sectors of the economy, blah blah blah. Come on.
Well, let's break
on.
it down a bit. Let's break it down.
Good.
The government did say that this particular loan, it's quite humongous, if you ask me, will be used for infrastructure, agriculture, health, water supply, roads, security, and employment generation, as well as financial management reforms. Now, it seems the government is kind of stuck because the wage award itself that was supposed to be paid by the federal government to federal government workers hasn't exactly been paid in the manner in which it was said to have been paid. I think 1 month has been paid so far. The rest, the government saying they don't have enough. So, yes, we know that we are hearing that assembly workers, assembly officers are planning to buy vehicles because the roads are bad, so they need vehicles that are in the range of 160 million naira. All right, so maybe they need to fix the roads now, so they can, all other Nigerians can ply,
Right.
and also probably use part of these monies to pay wage award and other awards that will come. Aren't you looking at it from this perspective?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Because you see, all those things you reeled out, infrastructure, education, blah, 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 that's normal stuff they reel out. When I mean, tell us what this money will be used for. Okay, we are borrowing 10 million for the road from Kano to Maiduguri. We are borrowing 3 million. There should be a list. Because those loans are being used for projects. But when you use verbose words that for infrastructure, for education, that is money down the drains. It's going to disappear. Because you have nothing to check to be sure they're using it for what they brought it for. And then in a system where this same government that is going borrowing is asking for cars worth 160 million for members of the House and for the National Assembly, asking for money to renovate the Dodan Barracks as a guest house for the president in Lagos, and same for the vice president, asking for things that are wasteful. Look at the budget of the government for feeding in Aso Rock. And it got revealed recently that even in the White House, the meals that the US president eats in the White House, he's got to pay for it. But in Nigeria, the entire family of the entire village of the president and his cohorts coming to feast on the public till. And then you say you're still borrowing monies? Come on, I mean, we should ask questions of this government. Okay, you have come into office, you claim you will make all these changes, but ever since you've come in, it's been borrowing. Nigerians are not seeing it, and you are saying we should keep on tightening our belt. Down the line, we'll see the El Dorado. Nigerians are tightening their belt. Is Mr. President tightening his belt? Are his ministers tightening theirs, or are they loosening it? The more we tighten our own belt, the more they loosen their own belt. Not too long ago, the president of Malawi announced that he was cancelling all foreign trips for himself and his ministers. But what do we have in Nigeria? Every trip, even the useless ones, Mr. President goes with a retinue of advisors, wasting public funds. What are they going to do there? Now he claims he's going to go for COP28, the climate change stuff.
He's sourcing for investors.
Good. You don't need to good. You don't need to source for any investor. You know what investors do? They have the money, they have their laptops, they are looking for where to invest. So when you're doing what you should do, they will come. But when you're not doing what you should do and you have ambassadors, you can go around the whole world 10 times. Nobody's going to come. But when they see you coming, they because they know you're coming just for the fun of it, they don't take you serious. So the reality is, before we go for any of these loans, the government has to be serious. Do we want Nigeria to stay in the next 5-10 years? Or are we trying to steal and grab and do whatever we can do with what we do because we're in government? Then let the next generation take care of it. That was what Buhari did. And unfortunately, less than 6 months into his government, Tinubu is also doing the same thing. Borrowing, and you don't see no projects on ground. It's unfortunate.
So when Goodluck Ebele Jonathan removed the first subsidy, he initiated something called Sure P, where the money realized from the subsidy removal would be put to, so that at least that's where you make expenses of some things in Nigeria. But then the recent president said that it was a fraud. That was way back 2016 or so.
Buhari?
Yeah, no. Tinubu said the Shopee
was
fraud. Yeah, so now, and the recent government has said they've saved 1.1 trillion naira since the fuel subsidy removal. Do we have a record of where this money is being put, what it's being used for?
If Tinubu referred to Shopee as fraud, then what he's doing now is mega fraud. I mean mega fraud, because nothing is just distributing the money in cash transfer. To who? There are people who may sit down and have about 20, 30 accounts, and they get all the cash transfer from under 30 different names. So, I mean, if he had the temerity...
Is that even possible? Because we have NIN.
Forget NIN. NIN can be cloned. I mean, NIN, you see, it's technology, and we know there's glitches. INEC has talked about glitches. So, those who can do glitches can also glitch the NIN, and stuff will happen. So, if Tinubu called Shopee a fraud, what he is doing now is mega fraud. And he's doing it by borrowing. He's not even thinking of showing up the economy. It's just borrowing. And who's going to pay these funds? Who's going to pay these monies? It is Nigerians. Now they are borrowing using oil blocks as collateral. Future oil blocks. So even the generation next of Nigerians are not going to have anything to rely on. That's why I keep on saying, the only way, let us somebody the guy in the street interview called that the Nigerian leader is like a father. We have a situation in Nigeria where the father, the head of the house, is lifting money that should be spent on his children and stashing it away somewhere in some foreign place. And then the children are crying. And you're telling them they should wait. You are trying to make things better. Come on. For how long? Meanwhile, you started making things worse from the day of inauguration. You made things worse. And now you tell people that they should keep on waiting. That's why I keep on saying maybe the P2B is not very serious with his campaign. Otherwise, the inconclusive nature of the entire process is enough to Nigerians to say enough is enough.
When the president assumed office, and he did say he was going to hit the ground running, in your view, would you say Nigerians misconstrued the term "hit the ground running," seeing that the country seems to be, the economy seems to be running in the wrong direction? Feeding is out of the reach of the common man.
You see, nobody interrogated Mr. Tinubu during elections, because all he was saying was the Miloko, I'm the next. But he did hit the ground running. But we forgot to ask. Direction? Beautiful, that's the issue. Instead of going the positive direction, he hit the ground running in the negative direction. Because right from the day of inauguration, he announced that he will be removing subsidies, and immediately fuel became scarce in every petrol station. And it has been upward moving every time. The value of the currency when he came into office has almost gone down by more than 50%. So he hit the ground running, but in the negative direction. And he's still running. Now he's applied for more loans.
After supplementary budget.
Beautiful. Digging the Nigerian contraption deeper and deeper into debt. So he's still running. But for goodness sake, in the wrong direction. And the early Nigerians pull him back and say enough is enough. They better. Because at this rate, I don't think 5,000 naira to $1 in the next 1 or 2 years is impossible. It is not impossible. And then there are all the signals are pointing to it. Because all these things this government is doing, what has been done to protect the system? Nothing. Everything is captured. The judiciary is captured. The security is captured. So he's becoming more of a one-party state. The opposition is emasculated. The voice of people is no longer being heard. Perhaps except from your station, where people are still allowed to come and talk. And I don't know how long they'll allow you to allow alternate views to be aired. But the reality is that if we don't call this man to order soon enough, we'll be in trouble in this country. We're already in trouble. We'll be in deeper trouble.
Well, let's look at the debt burden of Nigeria. It's with this current borrowing of $8.6 billion and the euro, it's going about $51.759 billion. I know that some of the monies collected, towards the end of the previous administration, were grants, and that could take a long time, 10 years or thereabout, to pay back. But with this loan, with this debt burden of the nation rising, and Nigeria is what other sector can Nigeria invest in? Now, let's not forget that Saudi Arabia did say it was going to give some dollars to help, cushion the effect of the naira against the dollar, which was part of the fallout of the president's visit to the UAE, and promises like that coming through. But what other aspects of the economy can the government tap into to ensure that some of these monies borrowed are paid back, and the Nigerian is not made to suffer?
Well, see, when countries make such announcements, we're going to help you do this, you ask yourself, what do these countries want? What does Saudi Arabia want from Nigeria? Probably it wants support from Nigeria on the Palestinian Israeli issue. So it makes all such pronouncements and nothing ever happens. Saudi Arabia is used to making such pronouncements and nothing happens. The German president came to Nigeria and made all sorts of promises with power sector. And the next day, what did we hear? That over 14,000 Nigerians are in Germany and they need to be repatriated. So when they come for all those kind of things, nobody gives any free lunch, not even in Freetown. So those comments are like and the government runs to the street with that. We're going to get help from Saudi Arabia. We're going to get help from Germany. Come on. Can you help yourself to start with? Can you cut down on cost of governance? Can you prune down your ministries? Can you stop buying cars of 160 million? Can you buy localized cars? Can you begin to think inwards? That is what this government should be doing, and not digging Nigeria into a deeper grave and claiming that foreigners are going to come and help you. Nobody's going to help you. I mean, that's how it works in international affairs. Every country is out for its own people's good. Even if Saudi Arabia have all the billions, they would rather give every Saudi citizen a Rolls Royce than to come and waste it on it, because they know that you're going to pocket the money when it comes. They've looked at your system, that it doesn't work, that it doesn't check, there's no checks and balances, and that any money we give you will most likely end up in your pocket. So why do we do that? Until we take ourselves serious, right our wrongs, prune down our cost of governance, because that is the critical issue. Once you show you are serious, once you show that when the Nigerian government, the president is traveling, it's only for essential trips, then people begin to take you serious. Not when you are still frolicking about. I'll ask you, let Nigerian journalists try to monitor the delegation of Mr. Tinubu to COP28. The number, because we'll come there with 200 participants. They don't even know what is going on in COP28. They'll go shopping, but they've collected extra codes. So, and you are taking loans for all this, for goodness sake. And there are millions of Nigerian youths, children, who cannot even go to school. The hospitals are filled up. Doctors are running away out of the country. No, nothing to bring them back. And you want Saudi to come and help you? Give us a break. It doesn't work that way anyway.
All right, now we see that Serap seems to be the only one trying to check the excesses of government as it stands. Can we have a coalition of judicial, a coalition of lawyers also chime into this and put the government on its toes? I mean, that's your purview.
No, you see, Serap, I mean, and groups like that are CSOs, and we know how some of these CSOs operate, and we know the propaganda mechanisms. Their being there is also helpful to the system, that there's somebody going to court. Which court are they going to? Do you ever get to hear about the judgments of these courts? Or is it that you file an action and then everybody says an action has been filed? What was the outcome?
But that's not
what the important thing is this: sensitize the masses, let the people understand, because we should not ask Serap or whoever or individuals or lawyers. It's not sectorial. It's going to be a broad-based coalition of Nigerians who want to put an end to the nonsense we are being pushed to. How did the Arab Springs work out? It was not anybody coming to. It was the people saying enough is enough. Nigerians must imbibe the fact that If they don't say enough is enough, the characters milking them continue to push them. The people are already getting adjusted to the fuel price, and they are doing that at great suffering. People are dying now because they cannot afford the drugs. If you have asthma and you're not a millionaire, you will die of asthma in Nigeria. As basic as that. If you have asthma and you are a civil servant, legitimately earning your income, you're gonna die of asthma because the inhaler has gone skyrocket and you can't even buy it again. So it has gotten to that level, and that applies also to augmenting, applies to basics. So Nigerians are dying, and there's hoping until it is up to us to say enough is enough. Don't look at lawyers, don't look at judges, don't look at NGOs. The day we say enough is enough, that we are already dying, then that is the day this thing stops. That's how it works every other place.
All right, so let's now get your concluding thoughts. Let's merge the two topics we've talked about today and have your concluding thoughts on both of them.
Well, my conclusion is that the judicial sector, the justice, the judges have a great role to play, but we know that they're also elderly people and they also want a good retirement, so they may not be very keen. Nigerians should take up their destinies in their own hands. You should not, because you've elected somebody into office, go to sleep. When the person you elected in office begins to err, begins to deviate, it behoves on the people to tell them that enough is enough. Going to buy a rope and jump in and commit suicide or jump into an ocean is not the solution. Nigerians should coalesce, whether you are Christian, Muslim, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Ijaw, whatever. We are all going through the same kind of crisis. We should let all those divisive tendencies skip us, come together and tell those who are ruling us that you are not there, you might have captured the Nigerian state, but we are still Nigerians. We still own the country. Sovereignty resides in the people. Nigerians should get up and say enough is enough and put the rulers to check. That's the way out of this quagmire we are in.
All right, a big thank you to you, Barrister Eze Eluche. Thank you for coming in.
It's always my pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we get into business and entertainment and sports. Stay with us.